Sugar Baker's YouTube channel. I am so excited because I just got my brand new KitchenAid Pro stand mixer. And if you didn't see my unboxing video, feel free to check that out, where I talk a little bit more about how I ended up with getting this version and the great deal that I got on it, which is so exciting. If you didn't watch it and you want to know how to get a great deal on a KitchenAid, the way that I did it was I went on to KitchenAid's website and I checked out their refurbished versions, and they had this refurbished model that was actually obviously marked down, less expensive than getting a brand new KitchenAid stand mixer. But on top of that, it was on sale. So it was an additional $60 off of the refurbished price. And then on top of that, I got a 15% off coupon by signing up for the KitchenAid email list. And so I applied the 15% off coupon, which saved me another 40 something dollars. And so altogether, I ended up paying about $260 for this, which is usually going to be more like around $500 for this 6-quart Pro model. So that's it. Now we're going to be making my sugar cookie recipe, and I have shared another video of the process of making my sugar cookie recipe, and I am going to be modifying it slightly with this version because I felt like it could use a little bit more flavor. After I tasted the cookies last time, I felt like they could use a little bit more flavoring. So I'm going to be playing around with that a little bit with this recipe today, and we'll see how they turn out. The original recipe calls for 2 cups of butter, room temperature, and I have my butter here ready to go. Room temperature means that it's still cold, but when you push on it, you can make a dent with your fingers. So I have my 4 sticks of salted butter ready to go. It's not actually room temperature. Like, I haven't had it sitting out at room temperature. I just put it in the microwave on the defrost setting for about 30 seconds because I don't have time to remember to put butter out at room temperature. 1 pound bag of powdered sugar, ready to dump in there. 3 eggs. Ta-da! They're not room temperature. I just took them out of the fridge. Now, my recipe calls for 4 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Today I'm going to be doing 2 tablespoons of vanilla extract, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to try 1 tablespoon of regular vanilla extract plus 1 tablespoon of vanilla bean paste. A little something different. And vanilla bean paste is basically vanilla beans, so you get those nice little specks of the actual vanilla beans, but it's a lot less expensive than using actual vanilla beans. I don't know, let's try it out. Let's see what happens. My recipe also calls for 4 teaspoons of almond extract. I'm going to do a tablespoon of almond extract. The recipe also is calling for 7 cups of flour. I'm going to do 6 cups of flour first, and then I'll add in the last cup of flour if I feel like it needs to get the right consistency. It should reach the consistency where the dough is forming a ball and pulling away from the edges. And so whenever that happens, that's when it's ready. And last time I made this recipe, that happened at 7 cups of flour, but I was using the Bosch stand mixer. And so this KitchenAid might perform differently. It might mix things differently. Maybe we'll need less flour, more flour, I don't know, we'll have to see. And 3 teaspoons of baking powder. So that's what we're going to do today. I've had pretty good luck with this recipe. I find that in general, the cookies seem to keep their shape really nicely when I bake them, and they don't spread too much. They might spread a tiny little bit, but they still keep their shape really nicely. They don't puff out a lot, and so I'm still able to decorate them and make them look really nice. So I call it a no spread sugar cookie recipe, even though they might spread a little bit. Okay, let's get started. In a large bowl, cream butter on medium speed with stand mixer until fluffy. Then add in powdered sugar and cream together for 3 minutes, scraping sides of bowl as necessary. All right. We're going to be using the paddle. Is that what this is called? Paddle? Mixing bottle? I think so. Okay. This is my first time using this mixer, so I'm so curious to see how it works. And I did just thoroughly wash this bowl and the beater right before this because I had just taken it out of the packaging from the box, and because it's a refurbished model also, I don't know where it's been. Not that you ever really know where anything's been when you get it. So this is salted butter. I have read that it's more reliable if you use unsalted butter and just add the salt separately, because then you know how much salt you're actually adding, because different types of salted butter can have different amounts of salt in them. But for now, this is what I'm doing. So you can change it if you like. You can use unsalted butter and just add in a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Okay, here we go. So it says medium speed. Let's start out at low. All right, I did it. It's fluffy. That was quick and easy. So something else that I recently read was that if you want to prevent your cookies from spreading too much, to really go easy on the initial creaming of the butter and sugar if you're using granulated sugar, because if you whip too much air in at this beginning stage, it can cause the cookies to puff up more and spread more when you bake them, which was interesting. I had never read that before. So I basically just did this just until the butter was light and fluffy and creamed, and then stopped. Who knows if that'll really make a difference or not, but I did it. Time to add in the powdered sugar. One of the reasons that I chose to create a recipe that uses powdered sugar instead of granulated sugar is because my family's traditional sugar cookie recipe that we've always used for making and decorating sugar cookies at Christmas time was a powdered sugar recipe, and I always thought that the flavor was the best. So that's why I tried out this powdered sugar recipe, and I do like it. I don't know why it would have a different flavor from granulated sugar, but it seems like it's good. All right, now since I don't have the nice cover for my mixer yet, I think I'm gonna get a little damp paper towel just to kind of hold above it to prevent, I can prevent a little bit of the mess that can come. Let's see how this works. I don't know. A little bit of, that's not gonna do anything. All right, I'm just gonna hold this here. Let's see. Okay, so that's not too bad actually. The powdered sugar is not, because it's going at a pretty low speed right now, the powdered sugar isn't really puffing all over the place, which is great. So it says add in the powdered sugar and cream together for 3 minutes, scraping the sides as necessary. Now it's coming out. And I got my spatula. Scrape down the sides. And the bottom. I'm scraping my spatula off on the beater, just to try and make sure I get all that stuff in there. All right, let's see what happens now. Been about 2 minutes. I'm gonna scrape down one more time because I'm seeing there's still some powdered sugar down on the bottom that isn't quite incorporated, and there's some stuff getting stuck on the beaters. I want to scrape that down. I wonder if I got that attachment, the beater that has the scrapers on it, I wonder if that would really help prevent my need to scrape off the bowl so much. Might have to get it so I can try it out. I feel like my beater could actually be moved a little bit lower down because it's just not getting the stuff at the very bottom of the bowl. It's pretty close, but I wonder if I could adjust it to make it just a little bit closer. Might do that. Okay, those are nice and incorporated and creamy, fluffy looking. Mix in eggs followed by extract until smooth. 1 egg. 2 eggs. 3 eggs. Eggs are not completely incorporated yet, but I'm going to go ahead and add in the extracts. So I have 2 different, I have a small bottle of pure vanilla extract here and my larger bottle that I got from Costco. I'm just going to use up the last little bit that's in here before I go into this one. So what I said I was going to do was 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract and 1 tablespoon of vanilla bean paste. So there's not quite 1 tablespoon in here. So let me add to it. Okay. And this one is empty. So the vanilla bean paste is more like a liquidy gel instead of just a liquid like the extract. So I dumped that in, and it does have the nice little specks of vanilla bean in it, which could give my cookies a nice vanilla bean speckled look. All right, now we're gonna do 1 tablespoon of almond extract, and again, this bottle might be almost empty, so I have another one here ready to go in case it's not quite enough. Yeah, there was not enough. Let's finish out 1 tablespoon of almond extract. I'm just going to do 1 tablespoon plus 1 teaspoon of almond, because I really love the flavor of almond. Mix it up. down the sides, get all this stuff incorporated. I think I am gonna have to get one of those beater scrapers. I'm very curious if that would save me a lot of effort and time in all this scraping of the bowl business. Because this is kind of a pain. These things are not getting incorporated very efficiently here. What is going on? It's just staying kind of lumpy. I've not ever used this kind of a mixer before with just the one single beater. The one that I always had before this was my mom's old Sunbeam. It was from like the 70s. And it had double beaters and a bowl that turned around. And I felt like it worked great. I tried looking into Sunbeams, but they're just so much smaller motors, smaller capacity, that I just wanted to get something a little bit bigger for making all these cookies. But I still feel like that was just such a good mixer. All right, everything is scraped. Come on, let's see what you can do. Mix until smooth. It's not smooth yet. It's still kind of lumpy looking. So I ended up turning it all the way up to the highest speed. I don't know if you're supposed to do that, but I guess it's okay. The flour hasn't been added in yet, so I don't think it can get over mixed at this point when it's just butter and sugar and eggs. So it's pretty smooth. So I was just surprised at having to mix it at such a high speed in order to accomplish that. Not used to that. Okay. Now in a separate bowl, we're going to whisk together the flour and baking powder. One. Two. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I mentioned in my other video where I was making this recipe that I get my flour from Costco, which is good. I get the King Arthur unbleached all-purpose because I go through a lot of it making these cookies. 7 cups is a lot of flour. Okay, 1, 2, 3. And I believe that the purpose of the baking powder is that it helps to make the cookies softer. It does contribute a little bit to a puffiness when they're baking, so it could make them spread a little bit. But I don't want a really hard, crunchy cookie, so it's fine. I'm gonna add it. So I'm just whisking gently to try and incorporate the baking powder into the flour. And it's worth it to do this step because you don't want to overmix once you add your flour in, and you also don't want to have unmixed in baking powder because that doesn't taste very good. It needs to be fully incorporated, and it's easiest to do that when it's just the flour and baking powder by themselves. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to add the dry ingredients to the butter mixture gradually. Dough will be very thick and should be pulling away from sides of the bowl when done. Add flour until this happens and stop adding once it does happen. Okay, let's do it. I can put my bowl down to make it easier. Ta-da! So the dough is coming together, but it is still sticking very much to the sides of the bowl. So I'm just gonna scrape that a little bit and add some more flour. Obviously I have not added anywhere close to all of my flour yet, so it's not surprising that it's not done yet. It's definitely coming together more now. Still a little sticky. And honestly, having the larger quantity of flour is a lot of what helps the dough to not spread when you bake the cookies. So you definitely don't want to have a super sticky dough because then it's more likely to spread when you're baking them. Well, we're getting down towards the end of our flour. So it looks like 7 cups is probably going to be accurate. Just sloshed flour over the side. I need that cover. Okay, it's still sticking to the sides, so let's add our last bit of flour and see what that gets us. Smells good. Okay. Perfect. So it's pulling away from the sides of the bowl now. Like it's actually the sides of the bowl where the cookie dough isn't are actually clean now. There's no dough stuck to them. So that's how you can tell that it is ready. It's done. I did make a little bit of a mess here with the flour poofing out of the bowl, which is why I need to get that cover. But I think this looks good. So let's see how the texture is. We take some out. Yeah, so it is still slightly sticky, but it doesn't stick to my hands. It just has a little bit of a sticky texture to it. It's but you can tell none of it comes off on my hands when I'm holding it. So seems good to me. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it out of the bowl and make it into discs to get ready to roll it out. I'm just getting out a little bit of plastic wrap so that I can put my dough onto the plastic. And I'm going to take the beater out, get the dough off of it. This is the part that I was like, oh, I wish that I had a tilt head to make it a little bit easier, but it's fine. It's not that bad to have the bowl lift instead. It's fine. All right, so I got the dough cleaned off of the beater. And now, I'm just gonna pull a big chunk of it out of here. Now this is a double batch cookie recipe, so it makes a lot of cookies. It's around 4 to 5 dozen cookies, depending on the size of the cookie cutters. Now you can refrigerate the dough if you're not going to be making your rolling out your cookies immediately, but you don't have to. This recipe doesn't have to be refrigerated before rolling it out. And if you do refrigerate it, then you have to let it come back to room temperature before you roll it out, because otherwise it's too hard. So like I said, the dough is at a nice consistency where it's really sticking to itself here. So I can really get all of it out of the bowl by just kind of using the dough to stick onto itself. Pushing it around in here so that it gathers itself into a nice bowl, a nice ball. This is great. And there we go. I've got my 4 dough discs ready to roll out. Let's move this out of the way. Predators that I'm going to be using today, I have a carrot, a Easter egg, a bunny head, and a peep shape. So I have these Amazon Basics silicone mats for rolling out, and I have the Ann Clark Cookie Cutters brand of rolling pin. It's solid wood and it is a 1/4 inch on either side. So what that means is that you always roll out your cookies to the same thickness using this rolling pin, which is pretty nice. You don't have to add any other things onto it. And like I said, these are the Ann Clark cookie cutters as well. So I have 2 of these silicone mats that you can use these for baking as well, but I just use them for rolling out, and they're non-stick, so you can roll your dough out in between them and it doesn't stick and you don't need to put down any flour. Adding the flour when you're rolling the dough out can sometimes make the dough a little bit more tough, just because it's adding more flour into the dough as you're rolling. So this way you don't have to add any extra flour into the dough. So now the dough is really nice and soft because it's room temperature from just having made it. So it's super pliable and easy to roll out, whereas when you refrigerate it, it can get a little bit more difficult to roll. Even when you bring it to room temperature, sometimes it's dried out a little bit from being in the refrigerator, and it can make it more tough for rolling. So it's really nice if you have the time to just simply roll it out immediately after you make the dough. Now I have made this this particular disc a little bit big, I think, because I'm running into going off the edges of my mat here. It's just a little bit large going out over the mat. But anyway, you can see it doesn't stick. And then we can use our cookie cutters. Now I'm going to put some parchment paper on the cookie sheets. And I have these large Nordic ware half sheet size so that they hold more cookies. And I just put 2 pieces of parchment on there. Okay, so I'm going to cut out an egg. Let's do a few eggs. 1, 2. Easter's coming. 3, 4, 5. 5 eggs. And then we're going to peel away the dough and set it aside for re-rolling, obviously. Oh yeah, I have to preheat my oven, 375. So the oven is preheating to 375. Now because my dough is so soft, it's actually a little bit tricky to have it keep its shape because I'm transferring it, but it's fine. I could prevent that issue by chilling it a little bit. But for right now, I'm not going to do that. Okay, this one got messed up. I accidentally touched it with my finger, and the cookie cutter got, so I'm just gonna re-roll that dough. The parts in the middle, if you have a little bit of imperfection in the middle, is fine. It's gonna get covered up with the icing when you're decorating it anyway. That's my opinion. These are really big eggs, by the way. The cookie cutters made it like giant Easter eggs. Because these don't really spread, you can set them pretty close to each other on the cookie sheet. Okay, let's try some bunny heads. I don't know, I guess you can't really see these. Here, I'll set them over here so you can see them. And that's a small size. I wonder what else I can fit in there. I can't fit a bunny head, but I can fit a carrot. Ta-da! Okay, so that's it for this dough. So anyway, this is it. This is what I'm going to be doing. Just rolling out all my dough using these cookie cutters and peeling the dough away from each cookie. Oh, that one didn't come out very clean. There we go. And then I kind of pick up the mat and push it out from under the cookie, roll it out, and that way I can get the cookie off without kind of pulling at it with my fingers, and that helps to keep the shape of the cookie dough from getting messed up as much. Like I said, this dough is really soft right now. It's also a pretty warm day today, which means the dough is even softer. Because I think it's actually going to get up in the 80s today. Okay, one more little bunny head. Nice, nice. Okay, I'm gonna re-roll this dough so that I can finish filling up this cookie sheet. So pat it into a nice ball again. always thought you had to roll cookie dough out with flour. And now, not having to do that is so much easier. Doesn't stick to the rolling pin, doesn't even touch the rolling pin. Pretty awesome. Okay, let's do some more. Let's see, we have 3 bunny heads. Let's do some peeps. 1, 2, 3, 4. How many eggs do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4 eggs. 4 peeps. Let's do some carrots. 1, 2. And what I might do is I might just make this little batch of Easter cookies, and I might just refrigerate the rest of this dough for making some other types of cookies. Because I don't know that I need this many Easter cookies. And when you set them down on the cookie sheet, just remember that right now the dough is pliable and you can move it around. But once they bake, that's it. You can't move it around anymore. So when you set it on the cookie sheet, however it is looking then is how it's going to look when it is done, and it'll look like that forevermore. So like if your bunny ears are a little bit tilted off to the side and you want them to be perfectly straight up and down, then fix that now, or forever it will be to the side. All right, I still have room on my cookie sheet for maybe 2 more cookies. So let's roll it out again. And right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4 big eggs, 1, 2, 3 carrots, 4 bunny heads, and 4 peeps. So let's do another carrot. And I want to do another Easter egg. Let's do an Easter egg and a carrot. And that's probably all I can fit on my cookie sheet. Yep, that is it. Okay, great. So I'm just gonna wrap this dough up and save it in the refrigerator along with the rest of my dough. So here's all my remaining dough. So you can see I used about 1/4 of all of my dough, and with that I was able to make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 cookies. So whatever, so you could definitely get 4 to 5 dozen cookies out of this batch of cookie dough easily. And these are pretty large to average sized cookie cutters, I would say. So you can make quite a bit of cookies. All right, my oven is preheated, so I'm going to stick this in there. And on these large cookie sheets, I bake the cookies for 7 minutes. I also have some of the smaller size of cookie sheet, which is a little bit bigger than half the size. These are more the traditional size cookie sheets, and they're darker. And for these, I only bake for 6 minutes because they bake faster. And I don't know if it's the darker color. Probably. That's probably why they bake faster. Probably not the smaller size. Okay, so I'm gonna stick this in the oven. Okay, here's my finished baked cookies. They smell amazing, and you can see that they really held their shape pretty nicely. I mean, they hardly spread at all. I put them really close to each other, and none of them spread out to the point where they're touching or anything like that. And they look lovely. Now, after 7 minutes, there is a very, very slight browning. I wouldn't even say browning, it's just a darkening right around the edges. But mostly they're still pretty light colored, and that I like to not bake them past that, just because then they can get a little bit more hard and they're not as soft anymore in the texture. So I'm gonna let these cool on the cookie sheet, just because from what I've read, when cookies cool while they're still on the cookie sheet, it helps them to retain their chewy moisture. And if you take them off and they cool on a cooling rack, then they might tend to cool with a little bit more of a crunchy, harder texture. So that's why I try to let them cool on the cookie sheet for as long as possible. And in a few minutes, I'll have to taste test one and see how they taste after adding the extra extracts and flavorings. So I will let you know in just a minute how they taste. Okay, so the cookies have had a few minutes to cool, so I'm gonna taste one and see how the flavor is now that I've added a little bit of additional extracts and the vanilla paste. Now, I can see a little bit of the vanilla bean speckles, not a lot. So I wouldn't say that makes a big difference in the look of the cookies, but let's see how they taste. Really good, really good. Definitely didn't overdo it with the flavorings. I mean, honestly, I could have added more, and I feel like it would still be good. I probably could do a full 2 tablespoons of the almond extract instead of the 1 tablespoon plus 1 teaspoon, because I really hardly even taste the almond. It's very subtle. They just have a really nice sweet flavor. The texture is perfect. They're really nice and soft and almost chewy in the middle, and then the edges are crispy. I can smell the almond extract when I smell them. But flavor-wise, it's pretty subtle. It's just really good. Really good, sweet. I think they are pretty delicious, actually. So I'm really happy with my recipe. Honestly, I think next time I'll probably just go, I don't think the vanilla bean paste really made any difference, so I think next time I'll just go with 2 tablespoons of vanilla extract and 2 tablespoons of almond extract and try that, because I feel like these would be fine with just a little bit of extra almond, more than I put in here. That was so good. And the texture is really perfect. And, sorry, I can't stop eating it now. Really, really nice, light, fluffy kind of texture. And like I said, a slightly crisp edge. Now, a lot of the sugar cookie recipes that I tried, that I got online from various, bakers who shared their recipe and said, here's my no spread sugar cookie recipe that I always use. They tasted like flour to me. Like it was like eating a flour flavored cookie, like, FLOUR, flour. And that's because you have to use so much more flour in order to get a sugar cookie that doesn't spread. So I feel like that's why it's really important to add these extra extracts. It helps to give them that sweet flavor, and so they don't just taste like flour. So I like this recipe a lot, and I hope that you find it useful. Now, as far as my first time using the KitchenAid mixer, I will say the cookies turned out great, so no complaints there. Before using this KitchenAid, for about the last month or so, I had been using the Bosch stand mixer because that was my mom's and I was borrowing it to try it out. Ultimately, I decided not to purchase a Bosch because of the fact that I had such a hard time making royal icing in it to come out to the right consistency. Now, I haven't made royal icing in my new KitchenAid yet, so I can't wait to do it. That's coming up soon. That's going to be my next big experiment, so I'll definitely make a video of making a batch of royal icing in this new KitchenAid. But in the meantime, as far as the cookie dough, I will say the Bosch did a better job at making the cookie dough. Not that it didn't turn out fine in the end, but the Bosch was a lot quicker and more efficient at mixing the dough up. And I had to scrape down the bowl a lot with this KitchenAid, and I hardly had to do that at all with the Bosch. Obviously, I did have to scrape it a little bit, but the dough just came together a lot more quickly and more efficiently when I was using the Bosch than it did with the KitchenAid. And that's why everybody loves the Bosch, because it has that super powerful motor and it's really great at making dough. So I would say, if you feel like having 2 mixers, go ahead and have a Bosch and a KitchenAid because the Bosch is pretty great at making the dough. But for me personally, I just only wanted 1 mixer. Our kitchen is not that big and I don't have a lot of space to have 2 mixers. And so I want to just have one that can do everything, which is the KitchenAid. The other benefit is that in this little cabinet right back here, that's where I have my spot to keep a stand mixer. The Bosch didn't fit in there. It's too wide and I couldn't get it in the cabinet. The KitchenAid, despite the fact that it is large and heavy because it's the Pro and it has that big 6-quart bowl, it does fit. So that's another check in the pros column as far as my personal list is concerned. Now your kitchen obviously is different than mine, so you might have just the right space to fit a Bosch and maybe not the right space to fit a KitchenAid. The KitchenAid is taller, but not quite as wide, whereas the Bosch is really wide, but it's squat and short. So anyway, that is the conclusion of my initial unboxing and review of the KitchenAid, and I'm really happy with it. Oh, One last item is the looks category. So the Bosch is not pretty. It is functional, and it looks like a piece of functional kitchen equipment, but it's not attractive to look at. The KitchenAid is beautiful. It is this beautiful, glossy, shiny red. It has those nice curvy lines, and it's just lovely to look at. So another check in the pros column for my own personal wish list is I want a pretty mixer, and the KitchenAid is a lot prettier than the Bosch. So I'm really happy with it. I do think that I need to invest in getting the bowl cover, and I might also get one of the paddle attachments that has the scraper on it so that it scrapes the sides of the bowl as it mixes. But anyway, that's it for now. And maybe I'll do another little video later of the decorating of my Easter cookies. So I hope you enjoyed this. Please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Sweet Sugar Baker. You can also follow me on social media at The Sweet Sugar Baker on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, where I post little pictures and videos of the cookie creations and things that I do. So thank you so much for following along. If you watched this whole video, I hope it was useful and enjoyable. Let me know in the comments if you make the recipe. I would love to hear how it turns out for you, and if you have your own personal experience with different mixers, trying out different versions, let me know that as well. So have a great day.